The Bill and Kelly Show is recorded at Studio A at Executive Suite Squared in beautiful Hammond, Indiana. Now, here's Bill and Kelly.
Let us not forget that we are involved in a serious social revolution where is a political party that will make it unnecessary to march on Washington. Where is the political party that will make it unnecessary to march in the streets of Birmingham? Those who have said be patient and wait, we must say that we cannot be patient. If we do not get meaningful legislation out of this Congress, we will march through the South, through the streets of Jackson, through the streets of Danville, through the streets of Cambridge, through the streets of Birmingham. But we will march with the spirit of love and with the spirit of dignity that we have shown here today. We must say, wake up, America, wake up, for we cannot stop, and we will not and cannot be patient.
See something that is not right, not fair, not just, say something, do something, get in trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble.
Because the original intent of bringing African Americans to America was to profit off of their bodies. There's a lot of labor that was done in this country free of charge, and that was the guise of slavery, so that people can get wealthy. The Emancipation Proclamation was written, but there's an important clause in the 13th Amendment that states that people are free except in the case of imprisonment. So what the country decided to do at that moment was to create a system where we could criminalize black people and put them in jail, and this was the new slavery. You put black people in jail, they can create your products for you, and then all of a sudden, they can lose their freedom, and you can keep slavery in the country, but just in a different form. And so we still deal with this today. When we look at things we're doing today, and you know, some of the Black Lives Matter protests, I know there's a lot of things that people say about the protests, but what I want everybody here to understand is that protests for marginalized people have always been criminalized by America. And it was so those who had power could play divide and conquer. So back in during the time when the NAACP was created, and even the Civil Rights Movement, there was actually a design to make sure that people who protested were thrown in jail, that laws were created. And this led to Jim Crow and a lot of systemic racism, and quite honestly blatant racism that our country had to deal with. And so now that we kind of looked at the brief history, I can go on about this. I usually talk about this for like, an hour in class, but I don't have an hour today, so I'm trying to keep it as brief as I can. We have to look at what has happened in the past and why are we here now, and how can we move forward.
White athlete, my mom always taught me to do my best, and that was always enough to get me on a team. I often started first, even if my black counterpart was better than me.
Okay. As a black athlete, my mom always taught me that I have to work 10 times harder than my white teammates to get recognized or even get the same opportunities as them.
As a white teen driver, The first thing my parents taught me about driving was to make sure I stop completely at a stop sign and that I obey the speed limit. They have never once told me how to behave if pulled over by a police officer. As a white person, I've never had to fear the situation.
As a black teen driver, the first thing my parents taught me about driving was what to do if I ever got pulled over by the police. Keep my hands in front of me, my hands on the steering wheel, and be quiet. Even just reaching for my paperwork, I'm always polite. This is the best way to avoid being shot by a police officer.
As a white young adult, nobody ever acts surprised or characterizes my speech by my skin color because I speak properly. When shopping, I've never watched or questioned while shopping in a store. I've even accidentally set off the alarm when leaving the store and I was just waved out.
As a black young adult, my white friends act surprised when I speak properly and say I speak white. I have also experienced routinely being followed and watched very closely when I am shopping by security and store employees.
As a white employee, I have never been questioned when I received a promotion or award at work. I received congratulations without anybody being surprised by these accolades.
As a black employee, I am disproportionately paid less, but when I do receive an award or a promotion, I often encounter people who seem surprised that I, as a black person, did something not worthy.
Lift Black voices!
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
Woo! Good job!
We must be intolerant to the flippant comment between coworkers. We must be intolerant to the blatant use of derogatory terms in our classrooms. Intolerant to viewing others as less than. We must do our part to use that intolerance and instill empathy and love. I believe in transformational change, and I believe it's possible. I believe in creating transformational change for the people in our community, and I believe we have a mandate to create transformational change in the systems of our community. Now, the school town of Highland is an awesome school district, but we can do better. With your help, we can bring to light the changes that need to be addressed. We can better reflect the diversity of our community with the staff in our buildings. We can hold accountable those who mean to disenfranchise and limit the potential of our students. Through empathy, we can do better. I thank all of you for being a partner in this critical mission of meaningful and lasting change. I thank our town leadership from Town Council, Mr. Griffin, our leaders of first responders, Chief Hodgnicki and Assistant Chief Vassar, Chief Timmer, all of those that have come out today. I thank you for being partners in this change. I thank all of you for showing me the errors of what tolerance is. And I thank you for exuding love, respect, empathy. And to all of you, thank you for making your voices heard. Thank you. Eight minutes and 46 seconds.
And we're here with the MC, Kevin Ballard.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I wonder if you would tell us a few words about your experience today, what this means to you, particularly in Highland, and also about the movement globally, what's happening here in the United States.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. So this event, for me, it was fantastic to just see so many people come out and to be supportive. It's very moving. It's very moving because, especially as African Americans, these are issues we have to talk about all the time. But to just see some of our white brothers and sisters, some of our brothers and sisters of other races come out to join us, what it tells me is that there's a collective mindset that sometimes is misconstrued in the media as if only certain groups want this type of change. And it means the world to see people working and collaborating and to make a change. This group specifically was designed to make sure that there was a safe space for us to create these conversations within town specifically, so we can tackle some of the issues that people may not be aware of that lurk under the surface sometimes. Some of them are out in the open, but some lurk under the surface. And so to just have that support and for the event to go the way it did, you know, it was just awesome. It meant the world to our organization, Highland United Against Hate.
What I thought was very surreal at the end, we were all asked to kneel to represent the amount of time that death happened because a police officer was kneeling on for that period of time.
You know what's powerful about that moment? It creates empathy. You know, although I face racism, although I face systemic racism on a regular basis, even to kneel for that long, you can never understand the amount of time that the officer was kneeling on someone's neck until you go through it. And to be there, it was very moving to just sit there for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, the amount of time that is. What you realize is that this was just an atrocity and a miscarriage of police power. And also it makes you realize that there's a conscious effort that was unleashed, that was there, but that was just a seismic event that happened to unleash what was already there. A group of caring people who said enough is enough. We need to do something now because the future of our country is at stake here, whether we want to realize it or not. And so to teach our young people and for all of these parents, and especially our youth that came out today, to do that together, I think this is something that people can honestly say when they go back after that 8 minutes and 46 seconds. They might say, wow, that was really a long time to just kneel on somebody's neck. The level of it's just inhumane, you know, for lack of, but it's just inhumane. And so when you realize that, and as a person of color, as a black man, oftentimes, you know, when somebody else who looks like me dies, it's like you feel it. It just feels like a piece of your soul rips out. Specifically, and it's so important to acknowledge that, because I think it's a way to not only acknowledge what happened, but I think it's also a chance for those who may have been traumatized by the experience to try to in some ways cathartically heal, to understand this is what that man went through, and so now we can't be quiet. We have to keep speaking. So that was an awesome and powerful moment. The first time I actually participated in the 8 minute 46 second kneeling.
And the other thing about this event, it happens within a time of the death of a civil rights leader, John Lewis, who, before he died, wrote the words, "Make some noise and make some good trouble."
Absolutely.
Can you speak to that, this event coming?
Absolutely. And I'll be honest, John Lewis was on my heart when this event started. As a matter of fact, I wanted to read an excerpt from his speech when he talked about a house divided, but that's why I chanted, "Whose house? Our house." That was really in honor of him, because the thing that John Lewis did so eloquently was not only did he fight against racism, but his other goal was to get everybody to understand, not just because of the color of your skin, but whoever you are, this is not just an issue with African Americans or black people. This is an American problem. And if we let people divide us in our own house, how are we ever going to move ahead? So that was actually my way of acknowledging John Lewis without, you know, I felt like if I read the speech, I'll be honest, I felt like I was going to get too choked up, and I didn't want to do that. So I just felt like a short chant would be a good way to pay acknowledgement to such an iconic figure and legend, just to take an excerpt of his speech and just to shorten it to say, "Whose house? Our house." And so that's what John Lewis means the world to me. You know, I know he had, even with the comic book, and just to hear him speak so eloquently about issues of race. But not only that, if you look at John Lewis's record, he fought for all Americans. I mean, this is a man of the people, and how can you not respect that? This is a man who was beaten in holes. This is a man that ran for political office. This is a man that had all types of challenges, and he prevailed. And you know what? He passed away, but he passed away a king, and it made me so proud to see the way he was treated, you know, in his transition, you know, because I don't think somebody like that can never die. That energy lives on. And so we want to thank John Lewis for being an example of not just black manhood, but what a man should be, what you should stand for, even in the face of adversity and tyranny.
Well, they called him the conscience of the Congress, but I want to expand that to maybe conscience of all. And he spoke words of righteousness and justice that will ring true for time to come. He stood right beside Martin Luther King during the rallies, and just a tremendous person that impacted all of our lives. Well, we want to thank you for giving us some time to talk to you and a few words, and thank you again for emceeing this event. It went very well, and I think it made some noise.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And we appreciate you all giving us a chance to speak on your platform, because if it can reach and touch people, then it made this event worth it. So thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
And thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Oops.
Oh, that's right.
Something that is not right, not fair, not just, say something, do something, get in trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble.